the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. Because he understood that he and the Father were one, his consciousness was an automatic and continual source of supply. When we understand that the prayer or desire and the answer fulfillment are both in mind, we shall understand what Jesus said. What things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. If man's mind is Jesus' tongue, the awareness of the desire is equivalent to its fulfillment. It is the mind that entertains the desire and the mind that fulfills it. With all thy getting, get understanding. Understanding of what? Understanding that we are dependent upon ideas for our prosperity rather than upon money. If God is all good, there can be no lack of good for those who know God and apply his law. If God is omnipresent substance, there can be no lack of substance in our affairs, our jobs, our professions, our stores, our firms, our welfare, our bodies, everything in our lives. H. Emil Caddy says, there is only God through and through all things, in our bodies, in our seeming empty purses, in our circumstance, just waiting that invisible substance.
Hi guys. I'm not even sure if I was live. Hi guys. I didn't even realize I was live. All right. Seeing as how that happened accidentally. There are no accidents, right? All right. So today's talk is a little different. Okay? I want to tell you my story. I want to tell you what happened. Like, why is Cindy so sure about what the hell she's talking about, and why does it resonate with people, right? Like, how does she know what she knows, especially since she claims that she hated the Bible at one point, right? So I want to tell you my story. It's quick, but it's deeply profound to me. And the reason I'm doing it is because I was listening to my grandmother, whose voice just came through, and she said, "Little bird, you got to sing your song." And so I'm going to sing my song. All right. So the story goes like this. A few years ago, I was on this health kick. I was really, really in tune. I was taking these vitamins, actually, called Thrive. And I kind of miss them because when I was taking them, I was really on point in terms of like mental clarity and physical and all of this stuff. I was just in a good place. And this is not a commercial for that. I'm just trying to tell you where I was mentally and why I was working out and why it felt so good. Okay. But I noticed that I had a skill that I hadn't taken into account, and I almost got addicted to it, more to that feeling than those vitamins, right? Maybe they were correlated, maybe they weren't, I don't know. But it turned on a skill that I didn't know I had, and that was that I could translate the light. So I would run and I would let the sun hit my face, and in that moment, the sunlight, I could hear the words in the sun, and it sounded like plain English, as opposed to sometimes it would be in Spanish, sometimes it would be in French, but whatever, it was like a million voices that were just one unified tone. And so if you've ever heard light language, to someone who can't translate it, it sounds a little like Amundaya Sola, Dulaya Bailai, Dinayala, something like that. And most people are like, what? You understand? However, for me, it doesn't sound like that. It's like I train my ear to hear the one unified tone that is every voice at once within me, that made the most sense as to kind of like where my place in the sun was, where I fit. And I guess I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but I could hear empty space. I could translate silence. Everywhere I went, there was a voice in the empty space. And so I got to the point where I got really attuned to running in the sunlight. And it felt amazing to me because every time I would hear something else and I would write it down, and I would write down what I hear. And that's where my posts became constant, because I was like, I've got to put out the beacon because clearly I'm hearing something, And so that's when it happened. All right. So I live in Charlotte. and I was at the corner of Ray Road, near a bar here that's called Bradshaw's, right at the corner, okay? And that's when I saw him. He was 12 feet tall, at least. He had a sandaled foot, a white robe, and his face looks nothing like what people make Jesus look like. It was a face that was familiar to me, like, hey, my brother. On some soul, I felt that. But the face wasn't the face that our world paints of him. And I was deeply moved. I was in awe. If someone said, Cindy, you have to die right now to go with him, you just do it. But that's not what was asked of me. And I stood in front of this being, this huge, amazing, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful being. And I didn't say a word because I couldn't speak. And the voice that reflected back to me just said, I am the truth, the light, and the way. Follow me. And girl, guys, let me tell you something. When that happens to you, you don't think about it. You don't question. You just fucking go. You understand? That's what I did. I ran towards that. It was like, I ran towards his body, knowing that I was the only one that could see it. It was like a shadow made out of light that was only light, and you could still see the whole thing, but it was still light. And I knew in that moment I just had to walk through. So I did. Now, something very unique happened. Something that if someone would have said, can you describe this before it happened? I'd have been like, hell no, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So I'm going to try my best to describe this experience in plain English. Okay? My body kept on running. It was running on autopilot, all alone. It was perfectly safe. It had a mind of its own. It was a bot. Okay? Best way I could call it. It was like a little bot with no mind in it because I wasn't in there. All right? But it just ran on autopilot. And it ran. And it ran. And I could see it down there. It was like I could wave. But I wasn't in there. Okay? I understand how weird that sounds, but I'm trying to describe this as best as I can because I want to share this experience. I wasn't in there, and I was transported to another world. Okay? And when I got there, I was greeted by beings that you guys don't even know exist yet. Masters on other planets, masters in future time realms, aliens that you would call aliens, angels, every person in history that ever pretended to be human and come down to earth and share the truth with you all. I was greeted by everything that you can ever imagine. You can't even imagine. Like, I'm sorry, but there's no equivalent on earth to what I saw in that moment. But I was received by a party and a celebration like never before. Millions upon billions of beings were cheering. You made it. You made it. And I'm sorry, this is so hard. There's no equivalent to how good this feels. This is not sadness. This is truth. And it was the most incredible feeling in the world. There was so much love. I mean, Nothing on earth comes close to this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not even. Oh, that's why I say if it was my turn to go, dude, peace. I'm going home. But okay. It was a huge celebration from which, okay, if ever there was an ego boost for like having won a victory, that was the ultimate of all ultimate feelings that you can ever have. And I was caught up in the celebration so much so, and like there was food everywhere, and it was such a huge welcoming home. And I knew in that moment that I had achieved something that no other human being, well, take it back, is consciously aware of having done. We all do it. It's our path home. And I knew that in that moment that it was a big deal, but I knew that I wasn't there for, any other reason. It's got to be something important, right? And so all of this being said, the very first question I asked God, and every single light being surrounding me, is, I've been studying Neville. I understand the word of God, and I don't understand why I'm seeing a Jesus-like figure, right? I thought he was imaginary. I don't understand. And the answer was so simple. The answer came back like this: Cindy, this is the only conception I've ever had. This is everyone's real image when they're done pretending they have some other body or identity. Everything is my son. Everything is my son. This is everyone's true image in the light. I let that sink in for a minute because, what he was saying was that since I had fixed all my wounds and realized what I was doing and who I was, that I was seeing my true image. But it's not just my image, it's everyone's image. That's very powerful. Now, I accept that as truth because I heard it from the highest authority in the world. Do you have to believe me? Not my problem. I know the truth. So then I was taken into a huge hall of mirrors, and I understood that I was there for a purpose. And so I was also given every key to how to make 3D images on Earth, how heaven is first and how the light makes a shadow below, how to see through every 3D box, how to understand yourself, how to get through the maze, how to place yourself in eternity in peace, how to have peace, how to not see any separation. I was taught about non-duality. I was taught things that I don't think are possible because I had no idea that that's how it worked. As far as I was concerned, there was me and then there's the world. Okay? So to understand what happens here is then occurring below. And if we judge our shadow incorrectly, we hurt ourselves is huge. But there was a lot more that I was downloaded, I was given. But there was enough information that I was given that I was able to now, without fear, come back to Earth. I was given so much information. I mean, when I say light years and light years and light years of information, I may never, ever be done talking about the kingdom of heaven in its immensity. That's the truth. There's so much to say. There's so much to tell you. There's so much to see on the other side of what we think is real. And, well, that's what I was given. And so it was time for me to go home. And I was like, nah, like every other person who has died, we don't want to come back, right? So you got to go home. I was like, nah, no, please don't send me back. That's what I felt in that moment. Please, this is home. I want to stay home. I don't want to go. And in that moment, everything that I was seeing, every being in the galaxy, everything integrated itself back into my body. And I was told, you're not alone. We go where you go. Now you go and set the world by storm. We're with you. And the more you speak into the light, and the more you speak light into the darkness, the more we will pick you up and we will follow. And every person you think is that shadow that doesn't look like you, I assure you it is us. We're a team and we go together. And so I was given peace all of a sudden. Because, you know, I'm like bawling in that moment. I don't want to go. It's crazy down there. I'm being very honest. And in that moment, I understood that I was not alone and that I had a whole universe with me, and we were a team, and I was on a mission, on a recon mission. And so the funniest thing, felt like I was gone for 10 minutes. Tops. 10 minutes. It couldn't have taken more than 10 minutes. I was actually gone for 2.5 hours, and John was about to send a search party out for me because he got worried that I didn't come back. Like, he was used to me going for an hour and not be gone for 2.5. He was about to hop in his car and come search for me. And I got back like, you're not gonna believe what just happened to me. And he said, Cindy, that's a little too crazy even for me. And I laughed in that moment because since I understood how the mirrors worked, I understood that even I wouldn't believe me in that moment. Even I wouldn't believe me. He's my mirror, right? He's telling me this. And yet, I don't care who doesn't believe me. I don't care. And so I set out to meet my shadow and serve it, knowing that every person I encounter is one of those beings on the other side of the light with me. I'm not even searching for you all. I already know. You're with me. You're part of my team. You're my light. I can't do shit without you. And it's the faith that propels me forward. Like, I can't be scared. I can't be afraid because I know what happens in the end. Everybody ends up in this beautiful place that I really didn't want to leave. Right? Like, I didn't want to leave. And so when I help you all, I have nothing to lose. This shadow shit? This shadow world ain't shit. Okay? It's nothing. It is A no thing. That is why it is called a nothing. It is the nothing you came to make into God's substance, and you came to make it into anything you want. And the only barrier that exists would be the individual standing in its way saying, I don't have this. Because the design is much better than you think. You don't have to die. That's some bullshit. You gotta do it while you're alive. You must give birth to your light being while in your body. That's the key. And if you live half-ass, you are suffering. If you can't breathe, you are suffering. If you see ugliness outside, you are suffering. Why? Because you condemn your own soul's reflection instead of saving yourself. You're facing the wrong direction. You're already looking backwards at what's behind you, serving as its gatekeeper and its barrier so that you can have what you want. You don't have to take my word for it. I can exist in any world I want. No more ties and shit. This is the most valuable knowledge in the universe. How do you get to heaven? How do you find heaven on earth? Why did I decide to incarnate? What was it? What was the purpose behind my birth? It was to give and live in your freaking desires. The ones you keep denying are real. Because you're facing backwards. How can I say this with such authority? Hello? Used to be me, my shadow? I had to go through it to figure out how to fix it. Every time I help one of you achieve your light of understanding, your experience then gets added to the collective. The light gets brighter. The world outside starts to collapse. The people that can't breathe, that is by design, y'all. We are already turning our light and going this way towards our desire and leaving the shadow behind. It must be destroyed. It must collapse. Why? Because it's a nothing. It's the great big nothing that held your attention because it is also who you are. If we identify with our shadow and don't redeem it, then we leave ourselves locked out of our ideal state. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is your body fits perfectly within eternity. It is a puzzle piece, okay? So you are your own little source of light, walking around, don't got a care in the world, just walking, okay? This is the design. You're walking, and everything you look at, you animate. You animate in little sections. And it looks as if there's a separate world, but if I asked you to separate yourselves from your shadow, you know, go to the wall and do me a favor. Go separate yourself from the shadow. Can you? So then the proper use of your shadow and integrating your shadow and not judging incorrectly and understanding that you're looking backwards to make a new moment and understanding that Genesis is an eternal creation process, that you are never without, that you've always had it all, that everything you ever dreamed of is on the other side of your judgment. That's why I'm here. Because guess who gets to exist in both worlds for God knows what reason, other than she had to lose her son. She had to lose her son because that was the most painful moment of my life. It was the most horrible experience that a mother should ever have to go through. And yet, I'm so grateful it did. I'm so happy I found my gold. I'm so happy it's the reason that I get to exist in two worlds at once. I'm so happy I don't have to leave my daughter to choose my son, or choose my son and leave my daughter, or any of these two. I can be here for both. I can be a bridge. I didn't have to choose, but I had to go through my own shit, my own darkness, my most imaginary, worst, scariest conception to get to the light on the other side. And I did that. And you know what? I am grateful that he died. Do you know why? Because you don't understand how people are made. Your living memories get put together. All your living memories. So if someone passed away, they already exist in another body. It's just a bunch of living memories just bent into little shapes and forms and stuff like that. But they basically form you and your world. If you can see it with your eyes, that is your set of living memories. Everyone as you pushed out means your experience is on display everywhere. Everything that you ever animated ever is on display. There is nothing but you. There is one thing. As soon as you crack that puzzle, you place yourself back into eternity. You take your place, and things that you didn't even know you wanted appear. There's no more suffering. Literally, you are standing as the gatekeeper. But now, instead of facing this way, backwards, judging our shadow, we have flipped our view. Oh, there's our dream life. That's what we're being asked to do, you guys. If you need help understanding how to do this, if you want to understand if this is a little too esoteric for you, then reach out. Because I don't have any other explanation for what happened to me other than that's what happened. That's my life. And because of it, I could just be walking my dog and walk with my grandmother. It looks like empty space. It's not. The average human being sees maybe in a color spectrum of about 5,000 colors. They only retain memory of those colors for about 3 seconds. I see over 50,000 patterns, and I retain the memory over time and space. How much more can I see than the average human being? I want you to consider that, because that was something that God told me I could do. 50,000, 5,000. Eternal memory, 3 seconds. Do the math. If I speak life into you, it's because I can see what's on the other side of your vortex. If I'm not afraid, it's because I can see what's on the other side of your vortex. If you need clarity, it's because it's my experience on display. Mine, as in universal, occurs all the time together. We're a team. So, can I see across time and space? You bet your ass. Do the math. 5,000 normal human, 50,000 patterns across time and space of all eternity. Do the math. Okay? So when I say I'm the light bridge, it is who I am. And every time I get more of you across where you're like, I'm in alignment, I feel like my life is finally where it needs to be. You know, I didn't have to die, but now all the things that I ever wanted are coming to me. When I do that for you, the more I feel the Christ presence. So Do you want me to be concerned with riots and shit like that? Sorry. They need to happen. Because that's just a symbol of your soul being enslaved in the wrong direction because you're looking backwards instead of forward towards the life that you were always supposed to have. You're mad because of what? Ancient history? You're not living there. You want to project the past? You're not living there. That's death, remember? Eternal life begins when you take your place exactly at the center of your being. At the center of your being, you then become whole. You stop judging the wrong way, and the light expands. You lose your shadow. You see way more than you've ever seen before. You see past the material plane that is considered to be 3D material solid. You see through it. So you know where to walk. So you know not to judge this shit. Okay? You never, ever, ever again look at chaos, call it chaos, and walk in the wrong direction. You condemn yourself and your entire universe with you. Y'all go down. How far down the rabbit imaginary hole you wish to go, up to you. Condemn your parents. Condemn this, condemn that. Keep dropping. Keep dropping. Keep dropping. Because it is your shadow that you are condemning. So you just pull yourself like this, like an anchor. Down you go. Into 3D. Where you are furthest from your light of understanding, and the things that you want feel out of your reach. Everyone seems to have a mind of their own, because we gave it life. And we've misunderstood why we're standing where we're standing. You guys, I walk with people that hear God all the time. I'm not alone. I walk with people who can see because they're just like me. We are on a mission in a way. We're on a mission to save ourselves and no one else. Because if we save ourselves, we take the universe with us. So if we stop condemning our shadow and start seeing it in the best light, we are automatically saving our universe. Automatically. And most people would never believe me because they think of themselves as a tiny individual and they think of the world as separate and having a life of its own and being in complete and total chaos. When what they haven't understood is it's their own soul begging to be released from the way that you see it. Even I cried when I had to go back. Even I cried when I had to go back. You know, someone had to tell me, don't worry, you don't see shit like that no more, you're gonna be good. I laugh, but this is my experience, this is my life, this is why I'm here. So that's what happened. That's how I see. When you ask, can you really see the future? Can you really see stuff like that? 50,000. That's my number right now. 50,000 colors across all of eternity. Across an eternal time space spectrum. More than 3 seconds. Why? Because all of your eyes are my eyes. So you take those 3 seconds and multiply it times eternity, and I can see an eternity. There is a universal vision that you must align with. And the path is stop judging your brother. Stop judging the shadow you cast. Love all your experiences. Forgive whatever happened to you. It occurred because of you. There was no other victim. In fact, by this design, I want to tell you, Hitler, everything that we know in history, he did that to himself. Every single body that he condemned, those were his bodies. We do it to ourselves, meaning God asleep thought he was doing the best thing and then condemned his own self. Thank God it's an illusion. Thank God it's an illusion. Because we have no idea what we do when we condemn the people we think we see outside. We have no idea that we just blocked ourselves from getting into heaven. So your job, your call to action, stop looking backwards. Start cleaning up your experience. Appreciate it. The gold in all the gold that you will ever need. And when I say gold, I mean your soul has turned from shadow material into gold. You turn the lead to gold, okay? All the wealth that you will ever need, you will never need a thing again, is depending on you appreciating and loving everything that you are. Not me. I'm just imaginary, you guys. I use a body to be a megaphone for your voice. Everything you as an individual are, until you appreciate and love that for itself, you don't get the love of your life. You do not get the best career. You get varying degrees of that, which is cool. You get the varying degrees of the things that you've allowed yourself, because when you judge your shadow and you say, this is good, now that good becomes your experience. When you say that's bad, that bad becomes your experience. Never ever are you doing it to anyone else but yourself, but it does look like we're doing it to other people. You'd have to know God's design to understand that, but I'm telling you that's what happens. Okay? So if that's the case, think real hard before your next moment is an incorrect judgment. You redeem that shadow, it adds to your collective experience, your light expands. The more your light expands, the more you can see. As soon as everyone is redeemed, you can see like I see through 3D matter, and now your sight is 50,000 colors over eternity, not 5,000 over 3 seconds. So then with more confidence, you start telling people about the kingdom of heaven that's real, right? And you start trying to explain what it's like and how all of a sudden, heaven is basically your ideal state when you're not in resistance to who you are. It's what you came to earth to experience. But only the very best of it. And that's kind of hard to believe, isn't it? You see all that struggle and strife, and if you had to work hard all your life and you didn't know that you were wealthy, that's a hard pill to swallow, right? But even the homeless man on the street, if he heard me, would be the wealthiest man in the world. So that's my message, you guys. That's what happened. It's a continual thing. It's always happening. I always hear God. God tells me all the time, my son walks with you. You know that, right? And I've never forgotten that, because that's true. My son walks with me. That's the God's honest truth. Even Even my son's memory lives inside of John. My mother, my daughter, all these people are alive. I want to say this. Every single memory I've ever had has been bent, shaped, blah, 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 blah. Okay? And here's what I want to say. The man has everything I never had. If there was an ideal situation that could ever be, it would be that. Everything I didn't have growing up. And I understood in that moment that I was looking at my ideal reflection of what I would consider to be good. And in that moment, I knew I had met my God-given choice. Because he was my complete and total opposite reflection. Opposite. As in, my birthday is 321 and his birthday is 123. As in, I describe something on the left and he describes something on the right. As in, he calls me backwards, I call him forward. And because of that, I can see through the material plane. I can see the universe, and I understood what divine love was. I understood what actual twins are and the importance of their contribution to the universe, because their highest light, the same soul in two bodies as one, is what creates the shadow below. But it's more of a light instead, so you can see in the dark. And most women, if they are with their ideal partner, have not realized that that is the purpose of their relationship. And most men, same thing. How do you know you found yourself? When you recognize yourself in your extreme opposite and you don't see an opposite. You know it's you. Then you are divine love, and then everything you've ever wanted comes to you, because everything is only divine love. You're no longer an obstacle. You just put yourself back into eternity, and now your whole light shines instead of your limited light. That's what I offer you guys. The closer you get to this understanding, the closer you get to understanding how your vessel works, the closer you get to turning yourself around and stop being your obstacle, the closer you get to your ideal state. And now, your very last incarnation, the very last one you're ever going to have, you're not going to do this again. It's going to be heaven on earth. Your version of that. And you're going to enjoy the hell out of that, and you're never going to die again. Now, if you're done playing with the shadows and you wish to step into your light, then this is a good time to do that. I don't know how long I'm going to be on earth. I have no attachment to it. It's not reality. It's a no thing. It's a nothing. It's a nothing until I make it real as something else. In my world. Which happens to be everyone's world if they figure out how it's made. That's my message today, you guys. You have a choice. If you judge your shadow, what you see outside of you is your shadow, your universal conception. If you judge this incorrectly, you are being Lot's wife while it goes down in flames. Nobody wants to be preserved in the destruction. or you figure out who you are real fast, you love the hell out of that, and you get out of your own way, you become your own savior, and you enter your ideal state where all the money, all the jobs, all the careers, the houses, whatever, you don't even want it anymore because you know it's shadow. But it shows up anyway. You want to know what it's like to breathe? Try not being afraid. Be yourself. Love that. And by God, stop looking backwards at your experience and condemning it. Everything is worthy of the kingdom of God, except evil judgment. Evil. Lack of love. Since it's your experience, and since God is playing every role, every single role, then if you do nothing else, rescue God from the conception of yourself. Be kind. Be love. Become who you are. That's my message. And for the record, the best, most epic party that has ever existed in the entire universe, ever. I'm hosting it on the other side. I love you. I know this was a little bit different of a talk, but I want to share. You guys have to hear my song, right? You have to know why am I so adamant that these are the absolute truths? That's why. That's my life. That's what happened. And I know how to get everybody there. You make peace with yourself. And that peace becomes the creative force of the entire universe at once. Trust me. Get in alignment. The rest is history. It's already happened. Trust me. If it's a material form, it's the past. This is one big giant deja vu in God's memory. Play the right role and you'll never lose. There's no right or wrong. I'm saying be who you are, because there's no one else but you in this world. And the sooner you get to lighting up the multiverse from within, the sooner you get to seeing just how amazing your world actually is beyond your judgment. You want to trust me on this one. The dimples are genuine. I love you. Have a good one. And thank you for listening to my story. If you ever have any questions as to what I saw on the other side or anything, you're more than welcome. I constantly see and hear spirits all the time because that's the real world. This is some shadow. Love you guys. Bye-bye.